The rain hammered against the window panes, a steady rhythm in the symphony of the city. Each drop seemed to carry a story, a whisper of the countless lives unfolding in the shadows of the night. The city was alive, breathing, and the rain was its heartbeat, a relentless reminder of the passage of time.
Welcome, dear viewers. I am Detective Hamou from the World Stories channel. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe to the World Stories channel. Activate the bell and don't forget to like, comment, and share the video, or else I'll have to send my imaginary detective squad to find you. Now let's dive into the dark world of hard-boiled detectives.
Inside, the detective's office was a study in organized chaos. The dim light barely illuminated the room, casting long shadows that danced on the walls. The cluttered desk was a testament to the countless cases that had passed through his hands, each paper a fragment of a larger, darker puzzle. Papers crowded a battered desk, their edges curling like forgotten dreams. Each document held a piece of someone's life, a clue to a mystery waiting to be solved. The desk, though old and worn, was a silent witness to the detective's relentless pursuit of truth. Cigarette smoke, a constant companion, swirled in the air, clinging to the heavy drapes that shut out the weak light of the afternoon. The smoke added to the room's oppressive atmosphere, a haze that blurred the lines between reality and the shadows of the past. He sat in his creaky chair, a man sculpted by time and hard living. The chair groaned under his weight, much like his soul under the burden of the secrets he carried. His eyes, though tired, were sharp, always searching, always questioning. His face, a roadmap of wrinkles and a two-day stubble, spoke of countless late nights and even more disappointments. Each line etched into his skin was a story of a case solved or a truth uncovered, but also of the toll it had taken on him. A fedora was perched on his head, casting a shadow over eyes that had seen too much of the world's darkness. The hat was more than just an accessory. It was a shield, a barrier between him and the harsh realities he faced every day. He took a long drag from his cigarette, the glowing ember a beacon in the dim light. The smoke filled his lungs, a brief respite from the weight of his thoughts. The cigarette was a ritual, a moment of calm in the storm of his life. The scent of rain mixed with the stale air, a fitting perfume for this world of secrets and lies. The rain was a constant presence, a reminder of the world outside, a world that was just as dark and complicated as the one inside the office. He was a man of few words, a listener by trade, and the city whispered its tales to him in the rustling of papers and the relentless drumbeat of the rain. Each sound was a clue, each whisper a piece of the puzzle. He listened, not just with his ears, but with his soul, absorbing the stories, the pain, and the secrets that the city had to offer. His hands, steady and sure, held a magnifying glass, examining a document with the precision of a surgeon. Every detail mattered. Every word could be the key to unlocking the truth. His focus was unwavering, his mind a steel trap, ready to catch any inconsistency, any lie. Old photographs were scattered on the desk, black and white images of people and places long forgotten. Each photo was a window into the past, a glimpse of a moment frozen in time. They were more than just pictures. They were pieces of a larger story, a story that he was determined to uncover. He flipped through a worn notebook, its pages filled with notes and sketches. The notebook was his constant companion, a repository of his thoughts, observations, and theories. Each page was a step closer to the truth, a truth that was often elusive but never out of reach. The clock on the wall ticked away the seconds, each tick a reminder of the passage of time. In the dim light, time seemed to move slowly, each moment stretching into eternity. But for the detective, time was both an ally and an enemy, a constant reminder of the urgency of his work. He looked out the window, the rain streaking down the glass, lost in thought. The city outside was a maze of shadows and light, a labyrinth of secrets waiting to be uncovered. And he was the one who would navigate that maze, who would bring light to the darkness, one case at a time. The phone rang, cutting through the silence, a sharp reminder of the world outside. He reached for it, his hands steady, ready to take on whatever challenge awaited him on the other end of the line. For in this shadowy office, the work never stopped, and neither did he. From a scratchy radio in the corner, a mournful saxophone wailed, its melody a reflection of the city's soul. The blues, they called it, a sound born of heartbreak and hardship. It was a soundtrack that fit the detective's life like a second skin. Each note resonated with the weight of his experiences, the weary sigh of the saxophone mirroring his own exhaustion. The singer's voice, raspy and full of pain, spoke of love lost and dreams shattered. It was a language the detective understood all too well. He tapped his fingers to the rhythm, a counterpoint to the rain's relentless beat. The music was a balm, a temporary escape from the harsh realities of his world. In the melancholic embrace of the blues, he found a strange solace, a kinship with the shadows that danced in the corners of his office.
Welcome, dear viewers. I am Detective Hamou from the World Stories channel. Today we dive into the dark world of hard-boiled detectives.
He wasn't like the cops, those boys in blue who clung to their rule books like life rafts. They were the guardians of order, the enforcers of the law, bound by regulations and procedures. They believed in the system, in the black and white clarity of right and wrong. But he knew better. He knew that the world was painted in shades of gray, and sometimes the lines between good and evil blurred into a murky haze. No, he operated in the spaces between the lines, where the law was more of a suggestion than a commandment. In those dark alleys and shadowy corners, he found his true calling. He was a ghost, a phantom who moved silently through the night, unseen and unheard. The law was a tool, a means to an end, but never the end itself. He bent it, twisted it, and sometimes broke it, all in the name of a higher justice. He was a necessary evil, a grim reaper in a fedora, dispensing justice with a cynical smirk and a world-weary sigh. His eyes, dark and piercing, had seen too much, and his heart, hardened by years of disillusionment, beat with a cold, relentless rhythm. He was the city's shadow, the dark knight who fought not for glory or honor, but because someone had to. Someone had to stand against the tide of corruption and decay, even if it meant becoming a monster himself. He knew the city's underbelly like the back of his hand. Every dark alley, every hidden corner, every secret passage was etched into his memory. He had walked these streets for years, learning their secrets, understanding their rhythms. The city was a living, breathing entity, and he was its dark guardian, its silent protector. He knew where the criminals hid, where the deals went down, and where the bodies were buried. He'd walked its mean streets and rubbed shoulders with its denizens, the good, the bad, and the utterly irredeemable. In the dimly lit bars and smoky back rooms, he had made deals with the devil, trading favors and information. He had seen the best and worst of humanity, and he knew that sometimes the line between the two was razor thin. He had friends in low places and enemies in high ones, and he navigated this treacherous landscape with a skill born of necessity. He'd seen the worst humanity had to offer, and it had left its mark on him, etching lines of disillusionment around his eyes and hardening his gaze. Each scar, each wrinkle, told a story of battles fought and lost, of dreams shattered and hopes dashed. He had stared into the abyss, and the abyss had stared back, leaving him forever changed. But he wore his scars like a badge of honor, a testament to his resilience and determination. Yet, beneath that gruff exterior, a flicker of something else remained. A spark of humanity, a glimmer of hope that refused to be extinguished. He was a man of contradictions, a hardened cynic with a soft spot for the innocent and the vulnerable. He had seen too much to believe in happy endings, but he still fought for them, in his own way. He lit his cigarette and took a deep drag, the smoke curling around him like a shroud as he pondered the choices that had led him here. A sense of right and wrong, perhaps, or maybe just a stubborn refusal to let the darkness win entirely. He stood at a crossroads, torn between the man he was and the man he wanted to be. The distant light called to him, a beacon of hope in the encroaching darkness. He knew that the path he had chosen was a lonely one, fraught with danger and uncertainty, but he also knew that he couldn't turn back. He had come too far, seen too much, to abandon his quest now. He wasn't a hero, not by a long shot. Heroes were for fairy tales and comic books, and he was no shining knight. He was a man, flawed and broken, doing the best he could in a world that had long since lost its way. He walked away in the rain, the droplets mingling with the tears he would never shed, and sat alone in a dimly lit room, the weight of his choices pressing down on him like a leaden shroud. But he had his own code, his own twisted sense of justice, and he clung to it like a shield against the encroaching night. It was all he had, the one thing that kept him from slipping into the abyss. He stared out the rain-streaked window, the city a blur of lights and shadows, and held the small object tightly in his hand. It was a reminder of why he fought, of the people he had sworn to protect, and the promise he had made to himself. He wasn't a hero, but he was something else, something the city needed, a different kind of lawman. He wasn't the first of his kind, these hard-boiled detectives who walked the line between right and wrong. The city was a sprawling maze of secrets and lies, and he was just another player in its endless game. The streets whispered tales of betrayal and redemption, and he listened, absorbing every story, every lesson. He'd cut his teeth on the stories of Sam Spade and Philip Marlowe, men who navigated the treacherous waters of the criminal underworld with a cigarette in one hand and a .38 in the other. These legendary figures were more than just characters in a book. They were the embodiment of a code, a way of life that demanded resilience and a sharp mind. Their adventures were etched into his memory, each page a lesson in survival and cunning. Their tales, filled with femmes fatales, double crosses, and enough whiskey to drown a city, were his Bible. He studied their every move, their every decision, understanding that in their world trust was a rare commodity. The smoky bars and shadowy rooms they frequented became his classrooms, and the femme fatales, with their dangerous allure, were his teachers in the art of deception. He'd memorized their every move, every quip, every weary sigh. Each line of dialogue, each weary glance was a piece of the puzzle that formed his understanding of the detective's life. He knew that behind every tough exterior was a man burdened by the weight of his choices, a man who had seen too much and trusted too little. They were his mentors, his guides through the labyrinthine world of crime and corruption. He followed their footsteps, learning to read the signs that others missed, to see the connections that others overlooked. In the dim light of his office, he pieced together the fragments of shattered lives, hoping to find some semblance of truth in the chaos. He knew their world was one of smoke and mirrors, where truth was a slippery eel and justice often wore a mask. The line between right and wrong was blurred, and he had to navigate this murky terrain with caution. Every case was a new challenge, a new test of his skills and his resolve. He faced the darkness within himself, knowing that to understand the criminal mind, he had to confront his own demons. But he also knew that even in the darkest corners, a flicker of hope remained. It was this hope that kept him going, the belief that somewhere, amidst the shadows, there was a chance for redemption. He clung to this hope, even when the odds seemed insurmountable, even when the darkness threatened to consume him. And so, he donned his fedora, lit another cigarette, and prepared to face the shadows, ready to play his part in the never-ending drama of good versus evil. With each step, he reaffirmed his commitment to the path he had chosen, a path fraught with danger and uncertainty. He knew that the road ahead would be long and arduous, but he was prepared to walk it one step at a time in the footsteps of the giants who had come before him. Thank you for completing the video. We hope you enjoyed this journey into the dark world of hard-boiled detectives. Stay tuned for more intriguing stories from the World Stories channel. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.